The Italians are enjoying their holiday in the Mediterranean. However, a battle is about to be fought, and my god, is it going to be brutal. The prize, an all-day buffet at the finest Egyptian restaurant. Hey, how's it going, guys? My name is Jackie Fish, and welcome back to some more. I should probably pause it before we miss any of the action. To some more Divide et Impera online battles. This is a brutal 1 vs 1 as these players prepare for the awesome Colosseum tournament over on their Discord. I'll leave a link to it down below in the description, and this is one of the training matches between one of the teams, so it should hopefully be a very high quality battle replay. They are playing as Veneti. That's kind of their faction in the tournament, as the faction itself goes ahead and gives each team a faction, or I guess an area of the map they can play. I believe these guys are Tuscany, so they can actually play a couple factions from the Rise of a Republic DLC in the tournament, which I think is really exciting, allowing you to maybe switch between a couple factions. I think that will allow the smaller nations to actually compete with factions like Rome and Carthage and these other really large rostered factions. Being able to maybe switch up to find a better counter to them in the tournament will be really good. But this is one of the training matches that they've been playing. They sent me in a handful of them, so maybe I'll cover another one if that's what you guys want to see. And if you do want to see more of this action on the channel, do make sure to go ahead and drop a like and a comment. I'm always happy to do more DEI, and I will obviously also be covering the ever-living crap out of the DEI tournament when they do go ahead and actually start it. Right now, they're kind of in a training phase. So right now we have the Veneti over on the right hand side and the Etruscans, so two Rise of a Republic factions going toe to toe. On the front lines for the Etruscans, they're going to have just some basic hoplites. Obviously this is way before Rome has really rise to power and dominating the battlefield with sword and shield. This is when the hoplite was definitely pro. So there's going to be a ton of these hoplites, some more elite than others. But again, the weaponry is going to be a little bit outdated compared to the more modern period of the base campaign. So we're going to see just kind of a smaller roster as well. They have some slingers back here along with a lot of infantry. There's also a handful of cavalry, and I imagine the Etruscan cavalry will be able to get itself pretty stuck in to this battle. Then for the Veneti in the north, we are going to have some of these lighter skirmisher infantry. Again, the problem is a lot of these names are in the native tongue, so it's kind of a bit harder for me to know exactly what the units are, if I'm being completely honest. Oh, we also have some smaller pike infantry as well. That's kind of a cool unit. Veneti get access to, obviously going to be the main focus point of any missile fire, but still pretty deadly nonetheless. They have some more infantry back here again, some Veneti front line. They also have a handful of slingers seeming to be the main use of this battle. And then they also have some of these heavier elite infantry back here, again armored with that javelin and their sword as well. Most units in Divide et Impera do go ahead and have at least some formidable throwing weapon. I also really love the shield as well. It's kind of cool. It really, really is. Cavalry on the right-hand side moving out, though. Again, just more barbarian cavalry. I imagine this cavalry is probably really scary. I'm leaving up the statistics on the left-hand side of the battle as well, just so that you guys, if you are more interested to see just how good units are, can check that out. Again, look at the helmets, man. The custom models in Divide et Impera are absolutely beautiful. These helmets are insane. So goddamn good. But anyway, let's get back into the battle as we are having a bit of a skirmish phase unfolding. We can go ahead and stick on normal play right now. So this is one of the really exciting things about these being tournament battles, is all these players are going to be extremely high, well versed in Rome Total War and DEI. So we're going to be getting some really fun strategy. And obviously I think DEI itself provides a very, very higher level of strategy, because you have to worry about morale. Like, morale works so differently. You have to worry about fatigue, and moving units is so much slower. You can't spaghetti line your infantry, because each faction has to be like, this is probably the widest they can make this unit of 300 men, because they're not as elite. And even the more elite units as well, this is probably as wide as they can go. So it stops these spaghetti lines from really unfolding. And again, it just kind of creates really interesting battle lines. Speaking of which, right now, though, it does seem like the Etruscans are being very aggressive right now, trying to push in onto the Veneti front line. They've got a nice little overlook right here, which they can push in, but it does seem like they're going to come in down the entire battle line and really pushing their front line in. These hoplites are obviously going to be much slower actually in combat, and there we go, the first engagement. It does seem like, though, for the most part, these hoplites aren't into a shield wall or into a phalanx even on the left-hand side. They obviously are down the main battle line. But over on this flank, it seems like we're kind of going a much more looser approach, trying to be maybe a bit more aggressive, try and take down these Veneti infantry, which again could be a pretty good idea. And they definitely just seize the advantage right here. They are taking a lot of missile fire, and here we go again, more of the lighter spears going in. Maybe these guys can't actually form hoplite wall. They are heavy spears, so I would assume they would be able to. But in DEI, some spear units or some hoplite units don't form hoplite wall at all. So maybe that is the reason why they're not forming it, because they're just kind of like light spears more than anything else, more than like a, you know, a sturdier, heavy front line. They're more just like a lighter spear that can roam around and get stuck in. Oh, there's also like a Roman shieldman there, a Principe, an early Principe getting stuck in. Again, if we take a look at the overall battlefield, I will be doing this probably quite a lot throughout the engagement so you guys can see exactly what is going on. You can see the left-hand side is curving in a little bit. The Etruscans are going very aggressive, and they can definitely seize to try and maybe get some men through the gaps that are appearing. They definitely have an overlap here, and obviously they can come around here. It's going to be really important to see how the cavalry is played out through this battle, though. The cavalry are going to play such a big role in the engagement. And again, the front lines are still just holding back. The slingers are racking up some decent kills as well onto the hoplites of the Etruscans. It does seem like for the most part as well, the Etruscan missiles are also going back in again. These are just slingers, right? Yeah. Are they like dart throwers? No, they are slingers. Yeah, they are just slingers. For a second, I thought they were maybe with dart throwing units, but again, they're just pushing off. But it seems like they're not doing that much damage to the front line. Really trying to focus down this one unit, and there you go. Focusing on the missiles. That'll be a much, much smarter play, I think, for them to hit this missile unit and just whittle down the extra ammunition. Oh, a huge cavalry fight on the left-hand side, seemingly fully engaged right now. Luckily, though, the Veneti do have a heavy unit of spearmen reinforcing this cavalry unit, which is really, really smart. In DEI, cavalry units, once you do engage them, they're very hard to pull out of, so you need to make sure that you make the right engagement and you have infantry that can quickly reinforce and hit that battle line as quickly as possible. So the fact that the cavalry is engaged is looking pretty good for the Veneti. However, the Samnites could reinforce here as well. The battle over on this left-hand side going to be very, very telling indeed. Also seems like as well the Etruscans just have a ton more infantry. They've committed more men out here, and there are some Hastati Etruscans being chased down brutally by the Veneti swordsmen who are, you know, putting down so much pressure on them, hitting them in the back, and relentlessly pursuing them as they do, I assume, quickly try and make their way over to that main front line. The front lines have now fully engaged, and if we just go down the battle line, you guys can see it in all its glory. The pikes reinforcing as well. And this is going to be a big back and forth. Obviously, many units here providing very, very sturdy front lines and the hoplite walls that they have access to. I really like the pikes that have been brought up as well. That's going to be a big help at just doing a little bit of damage. Pikes are obviously a great counter to phalanxes. Unless the phalanxes can get stuck in, the pikes will rip them apart. If the phalanxes get too close to the pikes, they'll slaughter them, obviously. But generally, a lot of the time, the pikes can just keep the enemy out of range. And look at that, one of the Etruscans marching through. I assume they're probably going to be charging in onto that archer unit we see just off in the distance right there. Over here as well, so a really interesting thing as well, if you don't know, in DEI, you actually have to micro your phalanxes. You have to click once to attack the enemy, and you have to double click to push on into them, which is always a very interesting way of thinking. It might not seem like that's a lot of micro to be doing, but when you're doing it across 20 units and you have to constantly micro them, constantly push them forward or just hold them at bay, you know, there is a lot of stuff involved in that. So it definitely does add up in the micro as you see more of the front lines fighting. However, flank seconds, we do have another massive cavalry engagement over on this right-hand side as both sides continue to commit more and more men into this battle. Yeah, the cavalry fully engaged here. However, once again, the Veneti seem like they're doing an amazing job of just committing these spearmen to this fight a lot more efficiently than, say, the Etruscans can. I guess the Etruscans are much more heavily focused on just bringing up more soldiers into that front line, trying to crush that, whereas the Veneti seem like they are much faster at committing these spears. It does seem like the Etruscan cavalry, though, is definitely doing a decent job right now. Seemingly are taking the casualties down. Yeah, definitely winning the cavalry fight. However, obviously with more spears, look at this spear fight right now. They've almost completely surrounded this Etruscan cavalry, and that will go down very, very quickly. However, the front lines, obviously, as we were saying, the front lines were really in favor of the Etruscans. That's where they've committed their men, and you can see them really seizing the advantage right now, pushing in and starting to rout a few units of these weaker Veneti infantrymen who are trying their best to kill these more mobile phalanxes, but still not able to really break through. And as you can see, a huge break over on this left-hand side, setting that back. The missiles still coming in as well, and seemingly the missiles back here have killed pretty much all the Veneti archers as well, which is going to be pretty huge. And here we go, a unit of the infantry completely surrounded by the Etruscans. Their pikemen are not going to stand for too much longer, I think that is for sure, especially as soon as they get enveloped. This is going to be a pretty brutal day. Cavalry fight over on the left-hand side. Oh my god, look at that. Even with the spears committed, the Etruscan cavalry just doing an amazing job. Really getting stuck in. They are only medium shot cavalry as well, and the Veneti are heavy shot cavalry, so super surprised they're winning that. And yeah, this does seem like the Astarte are being a bit mismicroed here. Obviously, to be expected though. You know, you see this, you would assume they'd be fighting. Obviously, they're not. When you're commanding 40 units, that's gonna happen. We have a Veneti general being moved up. I really like, however, what they've done over on this side. They've able to really turn this cavalry fight in their favor, even with more cavalry moving in to hit these swordsmen in the side. And this definitely does seem like they're heavier infantry units right here, able to quite quickly dispatch the Hastati Etruscans without too much of a huge issue. And yeah, winning this cavalry fight is going to be huge, because rear charges in this game are absolutely devastating in DEI. Like, literally, they are devastating. Speaking of which, we have a unit of cavalry moving around for the Etruscans. You know, the DEI puts a lot of stock in outmaneuvering your opponent, and if you can rear charge, then oh my god, it's going to just do catastrophic damage. And look at that, a great charge moving in, even though they did get caught up on a few of their units. Moving in there, hitting the rear of these pikes, and that's going to definitely start to see their numbers dropping. You can see this unit is exhausted, so it's only fighting at 60% of its strength. Actually, you can see that on the unit card. Their morale is dropping. They're losing decisively, and I imagine this pike unit as well will go down. A lot of the time, it's not necessarily the morale from being outflanked that is a killer. I mean, obviously, it's a big thing, but it's the casualties you take. In DEI, you take a ton of casualties from being outflanked. You really do. And as you can see, the Veneti are having pretty amazing success over on this right-hand side here. They're really outmaneuvering their opponents. That's going to free up a lot of their cavalry to then wrap around. However, as you can see, the soldiers over on this side are struggling a little bit more, and they might have a little bit of a harder time moving in. It's really important that they try and clean up these flanks. And a lot of time you see that in DEI battles, is that, you know, the battle is really decided on the flanks. You know, with whoever wins the cavalry engagements then can push in. I mean, you're seeing more of the heavier barbarians from the north fully engaged now. As always, the units just look absolutely beautiful. They really do. I don't think you can ever complain about the quality of DEI units. Such a beautiful mod. And this is your first time seeing DEI as well. Definitely pick it up and play it. I've got a really good Rome Total War Rome guide. If you want to play as Rome first, I've got a really good Rome guide. And I basically run through the basics of the mod. So if you ever feel like you're a bit intimidated by DEI, just watch my hour-long video, tutorial video, and you'll have a great start at really understanding the mod itself, as I do run through a lot of the features. And you can kind of apply that to a lot of the other factions as well. How are we looking on this left-hand side? The Veneti are going to clean this bad boy up. With their added spears, they're finally starting to wrap up this engagement. Their heavy shot cavalry really getting stuck in. They're able to beat back these Astarte on the left-hand side as well. And that cavalry is going to come roaming around. And I say that as well, they're also wrapping up the right flank. Oh, this is going to be pretty bad. Even though the front line has been looking pretty brutal, we are seeing units able to find the space round and actually come in very effectively. I've also lost my pallet here. Able to come around like so. Yeah, I don't know where my pallet's gone up in the north, but able to move around here is actually really effective. And we're going to be able to now start really putting pressure down. And this is really important that this fight happens now, because by tying up these units around the flank, you're then allowing cavalry to move around. if the Veneti player didn't push these swordsmen round this flank like he's doing right now, these units would be able to scream for the cavalry that's inevitably going to come through once they do finally finish up the Etruscans here. So by doing that, they're then able to really move around and start hitting these pockets, because there definitely are gaps in the center of the Veneti battle line. You can see it's even getting enveloped a bit here as well. You got sword infantry right here moving around this flank and moving into the rear here. And again, at this point in the battle, when units are as tired as they are, these rear charges are going to be absolutely insane. And as you can see, they can definitely just chain route down here. This is also one of the amazing things about DEI as well, is that units just don't break immediately. You know, I feel like the morale is just so well balanced. Like, I feel like units break when they should break. It's not like an impactful charge immediately sends a unit packing. It severely hurts it, and it makes it extremely vulnerable to taking heavy casualties. Generally what happens is a unit starts getting, like, if a cavalry comes into the back of an infantry unit, it starts taking, like, it takes the initial hit, takes the morale penalty down to, like, shaken, then it starts taking heavy casualties, and then it routes. It's not like cavalry hits in, the unit routes. It's kind of just so well done. As you can tell, I love DEI. It's an amazing mod. And as you can see, the Veneti are now being sent back. That's going to be a lot of extra kills off from this frontline unit right there. And that's going to be scary. Obviously, the flanks have been very successful, and the cavalry have now won, and they're going to need to work double time. The Veneti general has even engaged himself against the enemy. A heavy unit of elite spears able to send these guys back to the abyss and reform up and probably help out in these other engagements. So it is extremely important that this cavalry makes a move and gets its ass over here. There's some cavalry already here. It would be perfect to come flying into the back of these archers, but I guess they want to avoid this big blob of infantry that has just won now. These guys can reform. I wouldn't be surprised, actually, honestly, if we did see both players reform their army at this point and try and kind of move on, because the flanks have been won, but the center has been crushed by the Etruscans. Also, another very, very important thing to realize in DEI as well is that units move very slowly. This is this unit running right now. Because it's a heavy arse unit, it's like a really regarded as a top tier heavy infantry unit. This is this unit moving double time right now. It's not marching, it's running. This is as fast as a unit can go at this point in the game because it's tired. So because of that, you know, it's very hard to re-maneuver your army. You kind of have to be very smart with how you position your forces. And I'm going to go flying in onto the pikes right now. Are these pikes able to get their weapons down? Ooh, this is pretty scary, because if they don't get their pikes down, you can see the soldiers really struggling to win here. Okay, they did fall back and get their pikes down. That's going to be pretty useful. However, I'm assuming they're going to find themselves completely outflanked. And the Veneti are in a little bit of trouble right now. Yeah, look at that balance of power bar. Again, DEI balance of power bar is very, very skewered, so don't pay too much attention to it. But yeah, I mean, this battle is still anyone's game, to be honest, because even though the Veneti are enveloping a handful of units on this right flank and on the left flank, there's still a lot left here, and it's still, yeah, it's still anyone's game, honestly. I wouldn't pay too much attention to a balanced power bar. It's going to be very important, though, for them to get more and more men over here. They are committing more soldiers in the forest, and definitely trying to get an outflank on the enemy is going to be crucial to any form of victory that they hope to achieve on this day. Also, as well, if any of the other teams are watching, feel free to send me in a replay of your training matches. Obviously, if you don't want to show what you're doing, that's fine. But if you do want to send me in a replay or two of your training matches and stuff, a sparring match, I'd love to see them. Obviously, don't just send me in every sparring match, only send me in the good ones, as I'll only be able to pick one or two of them. But definitely do something my way. I would love, obviously, always love more DEI content on the channel. Definitely my favorite game, favorite Total War mod. The Etruscans actually able to beat back this unit of Astarte and are now moving in. I would have maybe have committed into this engagement right here. And they're able to really kind of commit to this. Not too much trouble. It does seem like as well, the Veneti are really pushing in here. However, there is a lot of cavalry circling around, and there's a big clump of missiles. No, I wanted to go on the complete opposite side there. I don't know why it brought me over here. But as you can see, there's a lot of cavalry here that could quite easily move in and just silence this big group of missiles. I assume these missiles are out of ammunition now, so that's why they're being committed. But even still, this is a lot of numbers, and again, a great thing about DEI, I'm sorry to keep on harping on about how great DEI is, but a really good thing is about competitive multiplayer DEI is that these missiles can still apply that debuff of outflanking, and they can do decent damage even against the heavier tired units. If they get around the flank of a unit, they're still going to be implying that morale debuff, which is then going to affect the stats of the unit. So definitely, you know, missiles who are out of ammunition are nothing to be laughed at whatsoever. The Etruscan general being fully committed into this fight now does seem to be a little bit careful. They're able now to fully silence a large amount of this, and yeah, I think the Etruscans obviously have committed a lot to this fight, are going to be able to silence the Veneti over on that flank. The right hand side as well. Even with the general being committed to this fight, it's still a hard one. Obviously, fighting any heavy spears is always going to be difficult. They are slowly grinding away. The morale is dropping and these units are exhausted as well. However, forces are going to be able to find their way to reinforce this. Obviously, the center is completely broken now for the Veneti. And that is going to free up more and more soldiers to obviously make their way to these flanks. And I think this battle is looking pretty dire at this point for the Veneti. They're finding themselves being enveloped now. Bezos himself is here to envelop. Shout out to anyone who knows that reference. Bezos, envelop him. As more spears move their way in here. Oh, good cavalry charge in me. We zoomed out the wrong time. Yeah, look at that. That cavalry charge comes in, hits morale. The numbers start to drop. And then they really start to do damage to the unit itself. Shaken right now. However, the cavalry needs support. Cavalry can't do this alone. They need infantry in here to help out. And obviously in a prolonged fight, this unit of heavy shock cavalry is going to see its last days. And yeah, the Veneti are definitely going to be up against it. They are trying their best with cavalry charge after cavalry charge, moving in, try and do anything they can to turn this one around, but I severely think it is not going to go too well. Sorry about that as well. I have my... Oh, that's probably why I didn't have the things. I don't know where the map went. Brutal stuff from there. Yeah, there you go. Battle is basically lost then. I think basically it's just going to be the last couple moments of... I mean, there's 8 minutes left of a replay, but I assume it's mainly just reinforcing this flank over here. Maybe chasing down a few cavalry. And the general obviously making his last stand. Once and for all. I mean, he's not exactly like he's fighting any heavy units, so he's going to be able to fight for some time. He is exhausted. But he's fighting also very exhausted men as well. There's nothing fresh over here. And yes, he's going to get enveloped, but he's raising the banners here to help give him some more melee defense. But there's nothing else really going to be hurting him, and it's mainly just going to come down to the fact of these reinforcements slowly arriving to the fight. Yeah, I think the Etruscans have seen his last days as cavalry sitting idly by. A lot of routing units now being sent to the abyss. The Veneti, though, are not going down without a fight. Their cavalry has come in now, and with early reinforcements, I think there's some routing units that came back. They're now been able to actually kind of turn this fight into their favor with the cavalry charges coming in. They might be able to form up one little last stand, which will be kind of hilarious to watch the cavalry move in and see what they can do. You know, a lot of these routing units who have come back are now here to reform. They just need to kind of finish off these last couple of units. I mean, again, the Astarte from the Etruscans still holding firm. We are getting charge after charge after charge. And honestly, it wouldn't be a bad idea just to rest some of your men at this point as well. You know, get that energy back. I mean, that's exactly, I think, what the Etruscans are doing. Their men are very tired. And just taking a 5-minute breather to get their stamina back would not be bad. The battle is very much in their favor, and it'd be very hard for them to lose this engagement at this point. But it's not a bad idea to at least worry, you know, at least think about it. That there is a possibility of a chain rout. Maybe you lose your general. There's a morale on a lot of these units that are pretty low, obviously, due to the casualties sustained and the tiredness of the units. So just take 5, have a Snickers, sit back, chill for a second, get that energy back, and then push in and finish off with Veneti. Again, I would be very surprised if Veneti could pull this one back, but they actually do have a couple, you know, about 1,000 men still left remaining. Unfortunately, in Rome, it doesn't tell me how many men are left on either side like it does in Attila. And there are obviously way more men in this little blob here as well. Look at that as well. One unit holding firm right now. The Astarte Optima Italic is, is fully stuck in the high grass. Holding for reinforcements. Don't you worry, reinforcements are on the way. Marching to battle like true Romans. I should say true Italians, really. You guys have not been assimilated yet, but with the cavalry charge coming in, Ed's going to see that unit gone. Yeah, I mean, these guys, there's actually some winded units here as well, which is going to be definitely boosting their strength. The forces are reforming though. There also is a unit of cavalry back here as well, slowly moving in again. It is tired. Cavalry does move very slowly when it gets exhausted, so that's probably something they are looking to seize. And look at that, the general unit only down by about 50-60 men. Maybe this battle is not over quite yet. As the Etruscans move in, I think we can see a big mass rout here. The morale is just not good. They kind of lost their general as well, right? General is still alive. Yeah, I mean, this goes to show the men are just exhausted. They've taken heavy casualties, especially these smaller units. However, they should be fine. As long as they engage from the front, they have friendly, their flanks secured, they shouldn't break. And there's no real threat of a lot of cavalry coming in besides these two units. I mean, if these two units of cavalry can come in, then maybe there's a chance. The Etruscans have to guard their back, though. They really do. As long as the Etruscans guard their back, they should be fine. But there is only a minute left of this replay, so something explosive must happen. Either one side is completely chain routing. There you go, the pikes are now engaged. I mean, again, they should just be able to wrap this battle up, right? Just move around in these sections. Cavalry is going to probably come in. And yeah, look at that. Some of these units are already starting to break from the Etruscans, facing such a brutal army. I think we're just going to see a few envelopments going on and then a mass rout here from one of the sides. I can't imagine the Etruscans. You're going to see army loss coming in now, I think. Considering they are so heavily outnumbered, you're going to see a few of these units start to break. And then the entire army's just going to go. With only 30 seconds left of this replay. Yeah, there you go. The units are now fully engaging. The Etruscans have this just sheer size of the army. There is really no way for the Veneti to win. There you go. Army losses really kick in there. Facing a superior force, and they've had enough. But it was a very costly enemy victory, so an extremely close one nonetheless. And yeah, look at that. Oh, look how many men were committed in that battle as well. 8,000 for the Veneti and 7,000 for the Etruscans. Absolutely insane stuff right there. That was actually crazy. Big shout out to the players who sent this replay in, of course, and taking a look at some of the kills. You've got this Astarte unit of over 200 kills. That's not bad. A lot of the Astarte over on the Etruscan side with 300 kills on that one. Not bad whatsoever. So yeah, overall a really, really good battle. They sent me a handful. I think I might cover one more from the selection they sent me. There's a good, I think, Macedon replay as well, which I would like to see as they play against some successor states. So I'll definitely go check that one out. But yeah, cool. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this battle. If you did, make sure to drop a like and a comment down below. If you want to see more DEI, make sure you drop a like and a comment down below. Consider becoming a member of the channel. Help support us, support the channel as we do try and reach 100 members. You can become a member for as little as $2. You get some awesome benefits like showing up green in the live stream, a cool banner next to your name. You can use your banner actually in the comments as well. Whenever you comment, you'll see a few members down there, which I always appreciate. You get access to a private room in the Discord and a few more perks as well. So definitely consider that. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.